Derrell Day is on.
All right, welcome back to the show. Before we go any further, I need to give a big shout out to our friends that are listening over in Kuwait. I know it amazes me. We have people listening to us in Kuwait. Just Facebooked me here recently and let me know that. All right, I have in the studio with me a good friend, Stephanie Somerset, who is the executive director of Friends of Shell Island. And she came in today because she follows as closely as anyone the goings on with our position on Shell Island and the San Andreas State Park position. They've been in past year now, hasn't it? It's really gotten very interesting as they plan for their next 10-year management plan.
Yeah, every 10 years they have to update a management plan, and that gives an opportunity for additional restrictions to be passed. And so we've been following that very closely. And, Derrell, I believe you were at the first public meeting on that, which was about a year and a half ago. And people were so concerned because they kept saying they were going to control out into the water. It was
150 feet, if I remember, at that time. That had been talked a little bit about.
Right. The upper limit on that is 400 feet, but the only way they can control out into the water is they have to write a detailed description in their plan of what they might do, and
which gives them a jurisdictional takeover that I don't think they just don't come up and say we're going to now declare this our jurisdiction. Well, they shouldn't be able to do that anyway.
Yeah. Well, and I'd like to say that I've been working with park personnel for over 10 years, and we have a good relationship, and I appreciate their efforts to work with people like me in the community. However, Derrell, all we boaters at Shell Island have asked for is to just let it be the way it is. It's working. Yeah. It's working the way it is at Shell Island. Yeah. But you know what? It's hard. It's hard to call for nothing. Yeah. Especially when you're dealing with the government. Yeah. We haven't been protesting and asking for a new $9 million pier or boardwalks or bathrooms. No. We like it wild and natural, the way it's always been out there. But at that meeting a year and a half ago, one of the park spokespeople stood up and said, "We have no intention to control out into the water."
I remember that.
Okay, so about 2 weeks after that, up on the Florida Audubon Society's website goes a bulletin that says to all Audubon members, "We have a crisis at Shell Island. Boaters are trespassing in bird areas, destroying the habitat." Basically defamatory false statements about boaters, and asked them to write to the state park and ask the state park to control out 150 feet. So that is what is behind this.
All right, let me ask you a quick question. Last week, or it may have been this week, but I think it was last week, we burned Shell Island in a controlled burn.
Yes.
Did the Audubon Society have anything to say about that? Well, the eggs and the mice and I'm sure we had some crispy critters.
I'm sure there was some wildlife
that
was impacted.
Did the Audubon Society have a bulletin about that?
I was on their website yesterday. I didn't see it. I didn't see a thing.
Okay, so people walking out there is a serious issue. Burning it down to the ground, not so much.
Not so much.
Okay.
And if you look at the studies, they've been doing studies of these birds for years and years and years all over the country.
Because there's big money in that study.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not the people. And to address your caller's question the other day, it's not the people's dogs. The coyotes, the raccoons, and even the ghost crabs. Those little crabs. Now, wait a minute.
Hold on. Coyotes on Shell Island. Now, coyotes are renting Hobie cats and going to Shell Island and not coming back? You see littered Hobie cats out. How are they getting on Shell Island?
They come across on the land bridge.
Hold on. Will you say a land bridge? What land bridge?
Because the East Pass filled in.
Now, why did the East Pass fill in again? Anything to do with the new pass?
When they cut the new pass, it caused the East Pass to fill in.
Okay, now who did that? U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, right?
Absolutely.
If I did something like that, I promise you I would have to redo the old pass.
You would, yeah.
So we've got the dear, sweet, kind, gentle coyotes coming across the land bridge that are eating eggs. Did the Audubon Society have a bulletin about that?
No, they didn't. And
sponsor a coyote hunt.
I have a theory on that, Derrell.
Okay.
if you research the Audubon Society, you'll find out that they are a $50 million lobbying enterprise.
Oh, are they ever?
And
what is it, the Wildlife Defense League also? Is that the name of it? It is a really
Defenders.
Wildlife Defense League. Yeah. They always have cute names.
The head of the Audubon Society is a lobbyist. If you do an internet search on this guy, lobbyist is the first thing that comes up next to his name, and he's a registered lobbyist in Tallahassee. Okay, so think about this. A coyote can't read a keep out sign.
Not typically.
And you can't ticket a ghost crab. So what all these guys know how to do is go to Tallahassee and have laws passed against their fellow humans.
Yeah.
And that's what
they get very little money from the ghost crab group, right?
That's right.
Coyotes are pretty well broke.
That's right. And that's why they targeted people's pet dogs. It has nothing to do with, the issue of dogs among humans.
All right, we've been a bit frivolous, but here's what we're facing. In the new plan, and I was also at the meeting that you were at, they said they weren't going to do that. They now want 50 feet out into the water to extend their jurisdiction to patrol for trash. I don't know that you have to have jurisdiction to be able to patrol for trash. Now, when they say patrol for trash, is this means they're going to arrest the trash? Or I pick up stuff all the time on property that doesn't belong to me that's trash and take it to the nearest garbage can. Do I need jurisdiction to do that?
It doesn't make sense to me either, Derrell. I don't even think a park ranger's job responsibilities include going out into the water and getting trash out of it.
Well, they'll need new boats to do this. Do you go to Shell Island? I go to Shell Island. It's most boats you can't get 50 feet to shore.
That where it's shallow, no, you'd have to have a very shallow draft vessel, and they want to. Their wording says patrol for trash, and monitor natural resources and for public safety.
Monitor natural resources. What in blue blazes do they mean by that? Hey, look, there's the water.
Well, when we asked for specific, they said the seagrass. But did you know that there's $2.7 million worth of BP money that's already being allocated for a bunch of groups to go out and to study the seagrass and to put up signs warning the boaters about the seagrass? So I don't understand why the state park needs to get their fingers into it too.
Well, it's duplicious and triplicious efforts oftentimes. You mentioned the FWC and the Coast Guard already tasked with doing the same things that the state park. Now, we want to get along with the folks at State Park. Well, this is not we don't need to be an us and them kind of deal, but they require monitoring by the public. And if you're not careful, you could lose your ability to freely go to Shell Island. I mean, that could happen. Is it going to happen this time around? Probably not. But if you don't show up, there's a meeting. This is the reason we're talking today. Can you give some what dates and times on that, please?
Yes, they're coming to town next Wednesday, March 16th, and they're going to hold an open house at the Arnold High School auditorium from 5 o'clock till 8 o'clock. And
an open house.
An open house. It will be a casual mill about and talk with them kind of a setup.
Yeah. Now, if I remember correctly, at the last meeting I went to, it was a public forum. Well, it was supposed to be.
That's typical.
Everyone thought that there was going to be a time to walk up to a microphone or however they wanted to do it and to address with questions from the public. It turned out that that's not what it was. You could talk to them separately, but no one could address, and of course then everybody was split in 50 different ways.
That's going to be the format of this meeting too. The only thing specifically planned is that they plan to give like a 15 or 20 minute presentation at 6 p.m. But
there's no on the record public comment period.
No, nobody will have it. They told me people will not have the ability to address the audience, for example, with a microphone.
Oh, you mean to address the board?
Yeah, to ask them questions where everybody can hear the answers.
Right. Which I think is silly.
Well, it's not, to me, it's not optimal if we really want to have the public expressing their views. But that's the format they chose, and
that's handy.
And Derrell, the other thing I believe that they're going to say is they're going to say that they already have authority out 400 feet, and so they're doing us a favor by reducing it to 50 feet, and that's just incorrect. If If you read this 30-year-old management letter that they want to use to give themselves this authority, it specifically states that there is zero authority unless you write the details into this plan. So this will be adding regulation, and nobody should be told differently than that.
And once again, let's be sure that everyone understands that what they're asking for is already being done by the FWC and the Coast Guard.
Yes, that's right. And you know, back to this obscure 30-year-old letter. You know, I'm having to read this thing and argue with their attorneys about what it says, and here we all are. We're just trying to go about our lives, you know, work for a living,
right,
put food on the table, and we've got all of these people over in Tallahassee paid by our tax dollars working.
You're paying taxes to fight against the lawyers that you're having to fight
working
against.
To eat out our substance, and we're just trying to live over here, and it's just really frustrating. I love it. They're good people. One-on-one, these people are. I really enjoy working with them, but it's a shame that we have to do it this way.
All right. Now, a lot of people don't understand in the short time we have, not all of Shell Island is owned by the state park. There's a platted subdivision out there.
Yes, right in the middle.
Yeah, right in the middle.
Where the boaters go.
Where the boaters go. And will that be thrown under the same rules and regulations? I mean, does the state park own any of the eastern half? Well, there's not an eastern half anymore. There's a land bridge, but does the state park own any of that at all?
Well, Tyndall owns the eastern half.
Okay, all right.
And
and that's another subject altogether.
Yeah, you bring up another issue though. If they try to give themselves authority out into the water in the subdivision, the authority out into the water will be fragmented. They'll just take the fragmentation of the subdivision and move it out into the water, and it'll cause confusion.
Yeah. All right, so once again, before we have to go, what is the dates and times and locations of this public meeting? And I urge you to be there if you can. And it may not be the perfect forum we would like, but I'm telling you one thing, they see numbers of people.
Absolutely. It'll be next Wednesday, March 16th, from 5 p.m. until 8 p.m., and they will give a formal presentation at 6 p.m., and it will be at the J.R. Arnold High School Auditorium.
All right. Stephanie Somerset, Executive Director of Friends of Shell Island, thank you for being here with me.
Thank you, Derrell.
All right, I'll be right back. This is